record on this computer. All right. Good afternoon. Hello. So welcome to the session of the work authorizations related to your study permit. If you wish to work at the same time as your studies, you must be aware of your rights and obligations. This information session will be useful to you. It covers many aspects such as eligibility, obligations, different work authorizations during and after your studies for you and your spouse or common law partner. I cover also destitute students, work permit for destitute students, as well as things to keep in mind and pitfalls to avoid. I have the honor to present this information session. My name is Farah Afsawi, International Student Advisor and Regulated Canadian Immigration Consultant here at the prestigious University of Ottawa. I'm part of the International Office, and we are 3 regulated bilingual consultants in Canadian immigration. There are also, as you can see, Alexandra McAllister and Ali Belbashir. You will see I will use several acronyms, including that of the Canadian Department of Immigration, which is IRCC, which stands for Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, as well as the LMIA, which means the Labor Market Impact Assessment. So I will present first the overview. I will first talk about work authorizations, which covers the eligibility, your obligations, and the distinction between work on campus and off campus. Then I will talk about work permits, not authorizations, but permits. That includes co-op or internship work permit, destitute work permit, destitute students work permit, post-graduation work permit for spouses or common law partners, and other work permits. Of course, after that, I will give you a few words about pursuing further studies and what can impact your work authorization. And I will also talk about unauthorized work. Then, okay, so for the eligibility, there are 3 keywords that you need to remember. You need to be a student, full-time, and you need to have the remarks on your permit. 3 keywords: student, full-time, and remarks on your permit. So I will read now the presentation. So I said first, you must be a full-time student in order to be authorized to work using your valid study permit. You do not need a separate work permit for most of the time. That means that if you are a part-time student, you cannot work. The only exception is for your final term of studies. Sometimes there is only 1, 2, 3 courses left, and you are, for example, an undergrad, which makes you a part-time student. This is the only exception for your final term. This means that if you start the term as a full-time student, and then later on you decide to drop a course and become part-time, you must stop working immediately until you become a full-time student again. So remember well those 3 keywords: student, full-time, and remarks on the permit. I will see now other requirements. Those are in, they have 2 forms, the other requirements. First is your social insurance number, and second is, of course, a Canadian bank account to receive your salary. So in order to be able to work in Canada, you need a valid study permit. And There is also on this study permit the remark, as I have told you, indicating that you are eligible to work on the permit. And I will show you how it looks like in another slide. In addition, employers in Canada will require a valid social insurance number that we call SIN and a Canadian bank account to send you your salary. So a work permit or study permit, technically, when you work remotely from outside Canada is not needed. However, each employer will have their own international hiring processes and requirements. However, technically, it's not required when you are outside Canada. Inside, it is. Then we talk about, full-time, part-time. So the hourly limits for work only apply if you are physically in Canada. Outside Canada, remote work, it does not apply. All right. Then again, about other requirements. So you see, I was talking about the remarks on your study permit. So you must see one of these conditions printed on your study permit to apply for a social insurance number. If you don't have this authorization of work attached or printed on your study permit, you will not have a social insurance number and won't be able to work. So those remarks are, for example, may accept employment on or off campus if meeting eligibility criteria as per R186F, V, or W, must cease working if no longer meeting these criteria. Another one, which is more restrictive, this permit does not authorize the holder to engage in off-campus employment in Canada, may accept employment only on campus if meeting eligibility criteria as per R186F, must cease working if no longer meeting these criteria, may work 20 hours per week off campus or full-time during regular breaks if meeting criteria outlined in paragraph 186V of the Immigration and Refugees Protection Regulations. So if your study permit does not have one of these remarks, you have to reach out to us for more information. And basically, we will explain to you how to require an amendment to your study permit. Because again, if you do not have these remarks on your study permit, that means you are not allowed to work. You do not have a work authorization attached to your study permit because you are a student. Remember, student, full-time student, and remarks on the study permit. So make sure when you arrive at the airport and they issue the study permit, you have one of those remarks, because after that it goes to processing time. All right, so how it looks like. Here's an example of a study permit. So you can see here, you have your study permit number, which starts with an F and is followed by 9 figures. Then you have your application number. Do you remember, every study permit application starts with the S as for study and is followed by 9 figures as well. Here is your unique client identifier, which will follow you for all your immigration applications. And then you have basically 2 main parts in your study permit. First is your information with your name, first name, date of birth, sex, country of birth, and your passport number. The second part then is additional information. Here, remember the expiry date. Please do remember your expiry date. It will never go further your passport expiry date, and basically 4 to 6 months before the expiry date, you need to know what you will do, pursuing your studies or applying for another, for another status. So just remember your expiry date and plan. So, and of course, the information about the institution here, that will be the University of Ottawa. And you will see here, it's written, this is where it's indicated the work authorization, sometimes in conditions, sometimes in remarks. So you see here, it says may accept employment on or off campus if meeting eligibility criteria as per our regulation 186F. V or W must cease working if no longer meeting these criteria. So remember, this is an authorization attached to your study permit. This permit is not a work permit. You are just authorized as a student to work. All right. So here, this is how the study permit looks like. And now how the your social insurance number looks like. Before they were issuing a plastic card, but now it's only a document. Basically, that will be a letter that looks like this one. And it will be dated, of course, and you will have a number here. It's a 9-digit number that is attributed to only one person, only to you, and you are responsible for protecting your SIN. This is very important. You need to protect your SIN and do not tell your social insurance number to anyone, only your employer and official government services. So due to the COVID-19, it's recommended to apply online. And when you will see the presentation, when you will receive the presentation upon request, you will see there's a link here on how to apply online. And you will need to provide, of course, scanned copies, front and back. Even if there's nothing on the back, you need to provide it as well. So that will be for the following documents. Primary identification document, so for sure your passport, your study permit, and remember indicating that you are authorized to work in Canada, or if you have a work permit, of course, your work permit. Then you need to know that your SIN, your social insurance number, will not change unless you become a permanent resident or until you become a permanent resident. So now that you know these eligibility criteria and other requirements, you need to make a distinction with this authorization between on-campus and off-campus. Basically, for what I will present you in the following slides, you need to remember three things. On-campus equals unlimited working hours. I make it simple, and of course, after that, I will go into details. Off-campus, it's only 20 hours a week. And the two are cumulative. You can have both works. All right, so now I go into details. On-campus work. So RCC does not indicate a maximum number of hours for on-campus work. However, you have to remember that you are first a student. You hold a study permit, so your primary occupation is studying, all right? So it's possible to have more than one job on campus. So, however, we have a program here on campus that's called the work-study program, and there are, restrictions. It will be, and I will talk to you about this later. So on campus, what it means exactly? So it's basically all the buildings located on campus of the University of Ottawa, but you will see that it's not restricted to those buildings. So this also includes remote work for a non-campus employer. And later on, I will explain to you what is an employer for a non-campus work. So if the institution has more than one campus, you can work at different locations on those campuses, provided they are within the same municipality. So, for example, same in Ottawa. If an institution has campuses in different cities, the student is restricted to working on the institution's campus where they are registered as a full-time students. Otherwise, it's considered as what? It's considered as off-campus work with its limitations. So you can work at other locations as well to be considered again on-campus work. For example, if you're working as a teaching or research assistant, and your work is strictly related to a research grant. In this case, you may work at a library, a hospital, or research facility associated with your school, with the University of Ottawa, even if they are outside the campus. So I was talking about employers. Let me detail this to you. The on-campus employer can be the institution, of course, the University of Ottawa, a faculty member, could be also the student organization. It could be also yourself if you decide to run a business. However, it has to be physically located on campus. It can be also a private business, for example, Starbucks, Second Cup, for example, that is physically on campus. And it can be also for a private contractor providing services to the institution on the campus. All right. Before I told you about the restrictions, for the work-study program. So I will just give you like little words about this. You know that here at the University of Ottawa, we have more than 1,700 jobs on campus, which permits you to work part-time during the academic year and full-time during the summer term. So those are the restrictions, basically. So part-time during the academic year and full-time during the summer term. So it's very interesting because there's really a high diversity of jobs, and it really allows you to find a job that is related to your field of studies. And of course, you need to know that conditions apply, mostly financially, but again, here there's a link that will send you directly to our work-study program that we have on campus, all right? So now you understand the on-campus work. So you can have more than one job, unlimited hours. We understand what it means on campus and what it means employers. So now I will discuss about off campus. And do you remember before I told you there are three aspects, the distinction between on and off campus. Off campus, I told you it's basically, you need to understand, to remember that it's 20 hours per week off campus. But now I go into details and I talk about the exceptions. Your study permit authorizes you to work off campus. So remember, you need to have the remarks on your study permit. Remember again, you must remain a full-time student to work off campus. If you fail to remain enrolled in full-time studies, what happens? You must cease working immediately. You take a break, you drop courses and you become part-time, you do not have courses, or you must cease working. The authorization that is linked to your study permit is not working anymore. So generally speaking, you must work up to 20 hours per week during academic sessions. You may work full-time during regular scheduled breaks. You're free to work overtime even during those scheduled breaks, work 2 part-time jobs if you want to, and even add up to a higher than usual numbers of hours. You even can accumulate it, of course, with the on-campus work. As I told you before, they are cumulative. So how many hours count as full-time work? You need to know that there's no set number of hours per week that counts as full-time work. However, the employer must follow the provincial laws on overtime pay and time between shifts as well. Now I told you this. By experience, I want to talk about 4 pitfalls. All right? You cannot work before having started your program. Some people, they arrive to start studying and they say, okay, maybe I will defer or, just wait 1 term, and during the first term, I will start working. And after that, I will start studying. No, you cannot work before having started your program. If you haven't started, you are not a student. If you are not a student, your authorization as a student to work is not working. All right, so you cannot work before having started your program. Again, you must keep your full-time student status, both before and after the break, to be able to work full-time during your studies. if you have just completed your studies, for example, you finish your study, your complete program last fall, December, and it's followed by a break, the end of the year, break. You only work part-time until you receive a confirmation that you have completed your studies. Why? Because after that, you won't be working full-time. Remember, you need to be a full-time student before and after. So if you know by definition that after you can't work full-time, that means, boom, you are still a student, so you still can work part-time, but not full-time during the scheduled break, all right? And what it means, you receive a confirmation that you have completed your studies. Basically, there are two confirmations. As soon as they are available and you have to request them, you are considered as having finished your study program, which is the letter of completion. If you are undergrad, you request it to your faculty. If you are a grad, you request it to info service, and the final official transcript, final, so that IRCC knows that this is a final transcript, so that you request to info service. And so as soon as they are available, you have finished your studies, and that's it. Okay, so what it means regular schedule breaks. To tell you a story, I have many students who just write to us basically, and they said, okay, I have my final exam 10th of December, for example, and can I work full-time now because I'm on a break? No. Regularly scheduled breaks does not mean personal breaks after your last exam. Precisely, it means the university's break. For example, during the official winter, official summer breaks, or even reading weeks during fall and spring. And here we have a link. You see, you can confirm that regularly scheduled breaks are under important academic dates and deadlines that you can find on the University of Ottawa website. And you go to this link, and then you go to statutory holidays, break, and special events, and you will see what are considered as regularly scheduled break. Okay, this is not your personal break, it's the university break. Then what about spring and summer term? Actually, they are considered a scheduled break only if your program suggests that they are optional, or you are on a break, or you can choose courses. Some study programs have no breaks even during summer. So in that case, it does not apply to you. All right. So in order to work during the scheduled break, again, you must hold full-time status during the academic session when, before, and after the regularly scheduled break. And at the graduate level, there is not usually a scheduled break during the spring-summer term, so just verify with your program. And if you are enrolled in a course or activity that requires, usually in this case apply if you are enrolled in a course or activity that requires continuous enrollment. This is what I was saying just before. So now I talked about on campus. Remember, unlimited hours. Off campus, remember 20 hours maximum with exception. We have seen that. And I told you that the third aspect is that you can cumulate both. Yes, indeed. According to IRCC, there are no restrictions on the number of hours students can work on campus, in addition to working off campus, provided they continue to meet the applicable eligibility requirements. You are therefore able to combine your 20 hours off-campus work with a non-campus job as well. Remember that before anything else, here I'm talking about work authorizations attached to your study permit. What is your primary occupation? Is a student. And so you are a student before anything else. Your priority should be to succeed in your studies. As a reminder, these authorizations are linked to your student status. Therefore, you should respect the conditions that proves that you are actively studying. And how do you prove that? That you are enrolled full-time or part-time. So this is how to prove that you are actively studying, okay? For each study term, excluding the regularly scheduled break, of course, and you are progressing towards the completion of your program of studies. That being said, at the University of Ottawa, we really care about your academic success all the time when you are in a co-op, for example, or internship. So if you are in a co-op program, or if your program includes mandatory internships or work experiences, you must apply. This is really an application. It's not an authorization linked to your study permit. It's a complete application, complete work application that is called the co-op work permit. So the co-op work permit will allow you to work full-time during your work term or internship. And during this work term, you are considered as enrolled full-time, all right? However, you must keep in mind that this placement, this internship or co-op placement, must be an essential part of your program of studies, and this essential part must not exceed half of your program. So here I said your co-op work term or internship cannot make up more than 50% of your program of study, all right? Now there's a pitfall. Again, by experience, you should not use this co-op work permit for any work other than what? Other than your co-op work permit. Some students, they said, I have a co-op work permit. Can I work full-time in a job I just find is very interesting and it's related to my studies? And no, this is for your co-op. And actually, this also is reflected on your co-op work permit. So now I'll show you how it looks like. So again, it's the same kind of document. So, but here it's indicated work permit. All right. Again, here you have, different number for your work permit, your applications. So here if it's linked to your study permit, your address, etc., your information, and here the additional information. Again, remember the expiry date. Always keep that in mind. Never become out of status. Okay, this is very important. Indicate it in your calendar and make a reminder 6 months before. Here, sometimes in the section of employer, it shows University of Ottawa, or it shows the DLI number of the University of Ottawa. Why? Because the co-op goes through the University of Ottawa. We have a co-op office that helps you for the internship placements. So that's why the employer is the University of Ottawa, or it's indicated at least in this co-op work permit. Here, it's indicated here. So it depends on where it's, but it's indicated somewhere in your work permit. And remember, what is your occupation? It's not a job. Your primary occupation is what? Student. So this is really your co-op internship. All right. So remember again, so it must be part of your program, an essential part of your program, and no more than half of it. All right. Okay. So now I have just introduced you the co-op or internship work permit. I want to talk about the work permit for destitute students. And I have to insist that it's only exceptional. All right. Sometimes students find themselves in exceptional situations where, due to circumstances beyond their control, they may be unable to meet the cost of their studies in Canada, be it their day-to-day needs or their tuition. There is a possibility of applying for a work permit for destitute students. And here we give you the link to cover such exceptional difficult financial periods. Should on-campus employment or off-campus employment or even co-op employment, if eligible, prove to be insufficient. Remember, when you have applied for your study permit, you were requested proof of funds. Those funds are not future income. Those are available funds, not borrowed money, available funds. So you have already proven to IRCC that you have enough money to come as a foreigner in this country and study. So they will demand strong evidence of the circumstances outside your outside the students or your financial sponsors control. So you will need to show those strong evidence, and even an interview may be required. All right. So if you are found in this situation, just come to take an appointment with us and we will discuss your case. We also have a financial aid and awards office where you also can meet with a financial aid counselor. That can be very useful. All right. So there is a pitfall here. Some students, some people, they come to study in Canada, but their intention is to work first. And considering the work authorization as an authorization to not longer study. So it's important for you to understand that being a student is in terms of temporary immigration for IRCC. What it means, so you are a temporary student, you study first. You can have authorization linked to your study permit. You even can work in some cases, you can even request in some cases a work permit. So remember, you are a student first and you have proven that you have enough funds to come to study. So it's not a social program, basically. However, in some exceptional circumstances that you will need to prove, it's possible to request a work permit for destitute students. All right. Now I will give you a few words about the post-graduation work permit. You know, the open work permit that you request at the end when you have graduated. Remember that we have a full presentation on this, so it will be just a very general presentation. So the post-graduation work permit allows students who have graduated from an eligible Canadian designated learning institution to obtain an open work permit to gain valuable Canadian work experience. So open work permit, that means you can work anywhere for how many hours you want in Canada. It's open. It's not linked to a specific employer, for example. You must apply for this postgraduate work permit within 180 days of receiving the written confirmation. Do you remember I told you what is the written confirmation? That means when it's available, you can request the letter of completion and your official final transcript. As soon as you have this, count 180 days to apply. From the University of Ottawa, that you have met and those documents will show to IRCC that you have met the requirements for completing your program of study. Remember, there are so many students, you know, they want to know before, like how long will be the PGWP, as is the post-graduation work permit called, how long will be the validity. So usually a post-graduation work permit can be delivered depending on the length of the program of studies, and for a minimum period of 8 months up to a maximum period of 3 years. So the longest you can have for your PGWP will be 3 years. All right. And it does not depend on how long you have used to complete your studies, but it's how long is officially your study program. Okay. So this is based on the length of your study program, not how long you have used for this study program. All right. So of course, for this PGWP, you have some eligibility criteria. You must have studied full time in all terms of your program. Always full time. Undergraduate, that means 4 courses. Graduate, even 1, it's okay. So if you defend your thesis, you need to register to a course, to the course to defend your thesis. There is a special one for this. But you always need to be registered as a full-time. This is always the only exception. Again, as I told you before, this is the final term. When there is, for example, 1 or 2 courses to complete your studies, IRCC understand that. So you can be for the final session, you can be part-time in order to complete your studies. So you must have completed an academic, vocational professional training program that is an eligible institution in Canada that is at least 8 months in duration, leading to a degree, diploma, or certificate. All right, so it's not light courses. It must lead to a degree, diploma, or certificate. So if you are thinking about taking online courses under normal circumstances or doing an exchange outside of Canada, here, I encourage you to make an appointment with us, okay, to discuss potential impact for your PGWP. Of course, we all know that due to COVID, many aspects have changed, and there's a shift to online learning, either inside or outside Canada to COVID-19. Just know that for IRCC, there is no impact whether you are studying outside, inside, online or not until August 31st of this year, 2022. No impact, all right? All right, so now I will present you a very great advantage when you have when you fulfill all these eligibility requirements and you apply for your PGWP as soon as you have your letter of completion final transcripts. When you click the button submit, and here I show you the official information. So you are eligible to work full-time without a work permit while waiting for a decision on your PGWP application, only if all the following apply. That means you have applied with a valid study permit, you have completed your program, you have met the requirements for working off campus without a work permit, etc. You have respected basically the work authorization and respected the work authorization here. And even if you decide to leave Canada and re-enter Canada, still during the processing time, you are allowed to work full-time without a work permit. This is a very, very, very great advantage. And here I give you the link for IRCC that says that. All right, very good. Now, what about your spouses or common law partners? So when you are a student, if your spouse or common law partner is not a student, his or herself, he or she is eligible to apply for an open work permit. And for this, they do not have to they do not need to have a job offer already in order to apply. This is basically because you are a student, your spouse or common law partner can obtain an open work permit, okay? So, and this work permit is an open work permit. That means you can work anywhere for how many hours he or she wants, and for any employer. You can apply for this work permit from inside or even from outside Canada. And of course, here you have a link for inside and outside Canada that is left to you. But you need to make a distinction. This is when you are a student yourself. That means you hold a study permit. But once you are not anymore a student and you have switched to a PGWP and you are working, it's different. You need to be working in a job, in an occupation that is a skill level 0 management, A or B to qualify. So if you have this kind of job, then you can apply, your spouse or common law partner can apply for an open work permit. All right. If you have a job that is skill C or D or lower, it does not work. Okay. So this is really the distinction. When you are a student, open work permit. When you are a postgraduated, you are on a post-graduation work permit, then you need to have a job that is 0A or B for your spouse to have an open work permit. All right. And of course, so this is for your spouses, but now just to a final word on other work permit. There are so many work permits, so many, you know, some they are with labor market impact assessment with LMIA, some without, some with permits, some without, etc., etc. So and of course, when you apply, when you apply for a PR, for a permanent resident, there's a bridging open work permit for permanent residence applicants. Okay. So, and here, of course, you need to consult the IRCC webpage, and I give you the link here. All right. So, as I said, there is also LMIA for work permit or work permit that benefits from an LMIA exemption. So here, this is, for example, the example of bridging open work permit. So, you know, like permanent resident and residents under Express Entry, PNP, Quebec Ski Worker, etc., etc. All right. Now, let's say you have completed your studies, but you want to still continue. And what about the rest? All right. So you students who have completed a program of studies and will be starting a new program. Let's say you completed your bachelor and you want to continue for your master. And this master will start within 150 days of receiving the confirmation of the program of completion. Remember, I told you what it is: letter of completion and final transcript from U Ottawa. So you can work off campus on a full-time basis until the start of your new program, only if you meet the conditions indicated on the IRCC website. So I really recommend you to go to check that. All right. So only 150 days can work full-time. Okay. And of course, you must have an offer of admission in order to benefit from this work authorization. Some students say, I plan to, so maybe can I? No, you need to have the offer of admission first in order to pretend to that. All right. Okay. So this was an important thing to say. And also, what can impact your authorization? Do you remember I told you about work authorization linked to your study permit? So it's very, again, here, this is repetition, all right? So part-time studies. You lose your work authorization the moment you become part-time student. And repeat again, all right? If you become a part-time student during a term preceding a regular schedule break, then you cannot work during that break. All right. If you take a leave from studies, a leave of absence or a leave, you lose your work authorization the moment you are no longer enrolled. Why? Because you are not a student anymore. So the authorization linked to your study permit is not valid anymore. And remember, there's also an issue with the eligibility for the PGWP. The current wording on the website implies that only one authorized leave is permitted. Okay, so, and here, of course, I refer you to the website so you can check yourself. In any case, if you have questions, of course, regarding this, just get back to us, and you can even make an appointment with us to discuss more about the specific impact that will apply to you. Okay. And final word now, actually, on the unauthorized work. Some people may think that is not really important. Like, okay, that doesn't matter. I have worked maybe 22 hours. It was 20 hours. It does not matter. Or I have worked full time when actually I shouldn't have worked, etc., etc. So as part of immigration applications, you must declare, remember, in mostly all the applications, at one point, you must declare whether you have ever worked or studied without authorization. And of course, you are responsible for ensuring you complying with your study permit or work permit conditions, and not working more hours than allowed. So this is important. Why? And you can read basically the slide here, but why it's important? Because any false declaration has consequences. It can go to a 6 months, 6 months basically period where you cannot apply to anything, to even rejection, or there are consequences in, and when I talk about consequences, it's in the future application, whatever they are, PR, post work permit, etc. All right. So it's written here, they may also have a negative effect. It may also negatively affect your future applications. All right. So this is very important, not to play with that. All right, so here it's the end of the presentation on work authorization and few words on work permits. If you want to reach an advisor, I really highly recommend the drop-in session in our weekly virtual drop-in sessions for SOS Immigration. So you can see all the events on Facebook. They are both in English and in French. There is one session in English, one session in French. Also, you can request an individual advising appointment. And for all of this, you can, for any other question, you can always email us at uottawa.ca. And I will also present you other ways to get information. Say, please read the frequently asked question on our website. I know it's not really beautifully presented for now, but really most of the information you are requesting is there, like about PGWP, leave of absence, spouses, travel documents, all is there. And we update it as many times as we can. Okay. Of course, I really here recommend that you consult our upcoming information sessions or check on Facebook, and of course go to our YouTube page for our previous information sessions. All right. So this being said, I will give you also other resources related to work here, of course. So we have the Michael James Center for Global and Community Engagement, very good for volunteering. It's a really great starting point if you have little to no previous work experience. And then there are two kind of similar career development center. The first one is the Career Development Center. This is where you can really develop your skills, network, find job, get help with your resume, portfolio, cover letters, even have mock interviews and more. And there's the similar Career Development Center, but more specialized in business, because this is a tougher career center. All right. So thank you very much.